Welcome to That Game Show, the awkward, inappropriate, random podcast that occasionally talks about games.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to That Game Show. I am your host, Chase Bunker, joined as always with Kyle Helmstetter. Kyle is...
I don't know about the background. I'm doing the background.
He's doing a background this time.
I'm doing the background.
He said to me, and I was going to make a reference to it. It's like, oh, wow, if you're watching this on YouTube, Kyle is going without a background. And then he just said, psych, pulled a fast one on it. And
I'm in the middle of a city.
He's in the middle of a city.
Wait, that fidget spinner looks like a dick.
It does.
Dick, but nonetheless.
It does. If you watch this on YouTube, yeah, you can see Kyle's background. If you are listening to us on the podcast, just kind of take our word for it.
Just imagine a small dick, and ta-da, you've got exactly what I just pointed at.
All right.
Or a Mickey balloon. You could imagine that too.
Okay, the Mickey balloon's at least a little bit better. Because right now we're already treading on dangerous territory with this in the YouTube algorithm. So.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. Great. So the listens on the YouTube episode are going to go, they're going to be tanking. Thanks a lot for that. Real quick, we have a special announcement right now. If you are listening to this on the day of the premiere, Holiday Matsuri is happening over in Orlando. And this Friday, December 22nd, we are going to be at Holiday Matsuri for the first time ever. I will be back in Orlando. Kyle will be not driving really far, but regardless, we're gonna be at our first time at Holiday Matsuri. So Kyle, real quick, for those who have not experienced our show, can you tell them a little bit about it?
So you know we do this thing where we do these things, and then these other things occur, and sometimes when these things are occurring, there are third things that also occur. I didn't have a hand right there. There is no hand on my hand on the screen. Besides that, though, there are some jokes, and there are some fun, and there's some enjoyment and some entertainment. And there's one F-bomb because we are PG-13.
Okay, so you signed us up because here's the thing. Normally for like Tampa and Atlanta, I normally handle it. This time I let you take the reins. I don't even know what you put down. Quite frankly, I'm afraid because this is what I get for putting you in charge of this. But yes, we are PG-13. We are allowed only one F-bomb. When it happens, I don't know. I've been tempted to just steal your thunder, but...
You could. I will return it, though. We will get banned, but I will return at least one.
Okay. We will see how it goes. Again, it's Holiday Matsuri, December 22nd at 3:30. So come check us out.
We are
come say hi.
Aren't we?
Yes, we are at 3:30. Yeah. And like, so here's the thing that's kind of chaotic about it. We didn't know we were going to get this until the beginning of the month. We thought we got rejected.
Yeah, so like you explained, like you made me sign us up, right? You let me do it, and I said, okay, that's fine. Like I'll put our name in the hat and see what happens. And that was in what, June?
Yeah.
So, early June, I want to say, put the name in, was like, okay, we'll probably hear something back within like a month or two. Didn't radio silence. I took that as silent rejection. I was like, oh, I forgot about it. And then one point, like I think my fiance asked me, she's like, are you doing Holiday Matsuri this year? And I'm like, no, I think they rejected us. But it's cool, it's probably, I've heard it's really busy, and just forgot. Just silent rejection, and then that email came in.
Yeah, and the crazier thing was there was a good possibility that you were going to do the show solo. And
yeah, that was the other part.
That would have been scary because, for one, I would have felt horrible because I know you and I were both excited to do Holiday Matsuri, and then two, just leaving you to your own devices scares me to death. Because I don't know what's going to come out. And it's like, because it's like, I can kind of do the dual role, the joke man and also the straight man. I don't know if you know how to be the serious man. And I don't know if you could go back and forth.
Yeah, well, I've given a presentation or two in my career. I know how to go up to the people and be like, hey, listen, I got some spaghetti. But seriously, I have some spaghetti, though.
Is that your definition of going from joke man to straight man is you get the spaghetti, but then I gotta go.
We got a little bit of basil and a bit of parmesan, and I got a little bit of pepperoni. And but seriously though, we have some pepperoni, and we do have a very nice delicacy on staff tonight. So
I feel like we could do a game where it's almost kind of like the improv, where you have to like say things in a certain accent, but it's like we're gonna have to talk about things, but it has to go from straight man to funny man, horrible British accent, and all that. I feel like we could do that on a show.
I would enjoy that.
I would enjoy that as well.
I would enjoy that. I think that'd be fun.
But yeah, I'm excited. We have t-shirts. I bought some more. I actually, just prior to recording this, just got done making some with like a cool like holographic-esque font on it. So yeah. So check us out again, 3:30 at Holiday Matsuri, Friday, December 22nd. I'm excited.
I am too. I have no idea what to cosplay as.
I don't know.
Do I do Loki? Can I do that?
I'm not cosplaying this year because so this is what the downside to everything. My wife and I, mostly my wife, do a lot of baking in the holidays, and it's like Southern Comfort cakes, it's eggnog marshmallows.
I see what you're about to say.
Yeah. And so the problem is now we were going to go from, originally it's like, okay, I'm going to go to Orlando, then come back up the same day, pick her up, and then we'll go to the west coast of Florida. And then that's a bit precarious. Like, it's just like, that's just way too much driving.
A lot of driving.
And so we're going to go down to Orlando, and then we're going to go back over to like the west coast of Florida.
That makes sense.
And the problem is, food-wise, not a lot of things can keep in the car for multiple hours on end. The only thing is really cookies. So we've just kind of limited ourselves to like, hey, we're just gonna make a whole bunch of different batches of cookies.
This is, wow, I feel weird for saying this on the air. Why don't you just put it in my fridge? I live like 10 minutes from the con.
So we thought about asking you.
You can just put it in my fridge.
We thought about asking you a few things about staying at your place so my wife can work.
Yeah.
Coming over on a Thursday and staying the night.
It's also reasonable. It's my birthday on Thursday, so
that is also true. It is your birthday on Thursday. I would be getting in much later. I'd be coming in at about 9 o'clock.
I will be awake at 9 o'clock for sure.
Okay, so now I'm actually reconsidering a whole bunch of things.
Okay, all right, good. This is the first time we've had like a podcast, just like conversation about life that isn't games, and we finally reached it. We're finally podcasters, I think.
Are we?
I think so. We just talked about life.
Do we need to now say that this podcast is sponsored by Squarespace?
Oh, that'd be top.
What are the other ones that make us like legit podcasters?
One of us has to smoke weed, I think, on the podcast.
You're right.
I think that's a requirement.
I think you're right there.
One of us, or it could be a pipe, but ultimately there
has to be smoking of some kind. It could be a cigar as well.
But it can't be a cigarette. No. I don't know why, but it can't.
Not a cigarette. It's either cigar, joint. Like those are usually the top two. The government. There we go. We have to mention the government.
We do. We have to have a long conversation about that. One of us has to lean back a lot and go and just start laughing, like no contribution to the conversation, but just go. And then it's like, what's so funny?
We need real men nowadays because there's no such thing as real men anymore. All men are sissified. There we go. I think we mentioned that.
There you go. Our algorithm is so screwed.
Oh yeah, like the YouTube algorithm. Like after this, like I've just stopped caring, and so that doesn't mean you can keep going with the language. But I mean,
oh well, okay, fair enough.
Actually, no. Here's the funny thing.
That would be another thing, though. We would have to swear a lot.
You're right. You're right. We'd have to do that a lot as well. I think we imagine if like this is the most popular episode of our YouTube, one. Just because the fact that we've mentioned like all these things, just completely out of context.
We're going to be getting some hate mail,
yeah,
which I think also is required to be a podcast. So maybe that one
Let's go with let's try this as well. Hey, do you know what my thoughts are on the whole Jirard completionist scandal?
Oh, right, we're podcast. Yes, I do. Yeah, tell me.
I think that whole situation sucks.
There we go.
Chase Bunker.
Microsoft has officially completed its deal with Activision Blizzard.
Kyle Helmstetter.
They're now micro hard. No, I meant micro gigantic. Oh, the delivery could have been better, but the point stands. They're micro gigantic now. You know what? I'm going the wrong way with this. They're not micro anything. They're gigantic soft. Oh, God, what was I doing? Oh my God, how did I royally screw that up? Continue.
This is that game show.
So we just had the Game Awards not too long ago. I wanted to talk about that, right after it happened, but I had Jacob Wolf on instead, and it's hard to talk about that. Yeah, that's exactly it. Wolf Bomb, thank you. And then now, just in typical That Game Show fashion, we're talking about it, 2-3 weeks after it happened?
Not too bad. Honestly, better than the previous years where we talked about it a year later.
I think that is true. I think we did talk about it at one point in July or January. Yeah. So talk about that right now. That the Game Awards happened. A lot of big big premieres, happened. Mm-hmm. What were your thoughts about it throughout the show?
The show felt super rushed. I'm gonna start there. I know that's been talked about pretty extensively, I would say. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of that came with I'm totally blanking on his name. The Kratos,
Jeff Keighley.
I thought his personality was great. He even apparently made a reference to last year's where he went on pretty extensively. So I think their time limits were like.
Are you talking about Christopher Judge?
Was it Christopher Judge's?
Well, are you talking about the speech guy or the guy that runs the whole thing?
Well, I'm not really sure, honestly.
Okay, excellent.
I don't really remember 2 years ago or whatnot, but
last year it was Christopher Judge, the guy that plays Kratos. He had a speech that went on a very long time.
Yes,
and I know that Jeff Keighley, the host of the show, made some references and kind of poked fun at it.
Yes, both of those did happen. The judge's speech is more or less what I was referring to. That was referenced that they were aware that he went on long. I think the pacing was just really fast. Not that that's necessarily a terrible thing, but it was kind of weird to see more stage time given to they gave it to some interesting things, and it wasn't designated awards or things like that. It was kind of just very intermittent pieces that I was like, this is a longer segment than others, and I'm not really sure why.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the presentation overall, though. I thought they did a great job with everything. I liked a lot of the picks for stuff. Mm-hmm. I was obviously thrilled with Baldur's Gate, claiming many awards that day. Mm-hmm. Overall, I thought the premiere was pretty good. I thought things were good. I thought the teasers in the beginning, I was watching the pre-show, and I'm like, boy, there's not a lot that I'm really interested in right now for these things.
Yeah.
And then I realized I'm like, oh, that was just the pre-show thing. Thank God.
Yeah, what's funny is it said it starts at 7, but it was really the pre-show started at 7.
Yeah.
And so I was worried that I missed out on a bunch of things. I thought first off, Baldur's Gate and Alan Wake just essentially just cleaned up. I was happy.
Honestly.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people thought Tears of the Kingdom was going to do a lot more damage than it really did. I think it only won one award.
Recency bias was probably a bit of a part of that. I mean, if that game had come out, if you switch that game and maybe something else, one of the games that came out a little bit later, Spider-Man, obviously Baldur's Gate, even Alan Wake, possibly it snatches one more award or two, but honestly, it's not that it was a bad game, because it clearly was not. Mm-hmm. It just really didn't carry the same impact as a lot of those games kind of did.
I think Alan Wake 2, and I think we could discuss this during our Game of the Year episode, whenever we get to it. So I mean, you could kind of allude to what our choices are going to be, but like we'll talk about it more in depth later, and also we can make better shorts out of it. My thing was, first, I like the concept of the Game Awards being a celebration of games mixed with premieres. That's how you get people to stay for the 3 hours and 34 minutes or whatever that the show was.
And not just the one premiere.
Yes. What they should have done, though, was if it was truly a celebration for games, we should have had longer acceptance speeches.
I agree.
That's when a lot of them were rushed. Like when they rushed off the best performance guy, that's when I'm like, oh, like this is gonna be a thing now.
Yes, and that was a big thing for not only for him but for Larian Studios was definitely I mean, obviously it was rushed, but it was also like it wasn't like he was going up there with this massive script of like I gotta say all these things. It was mostly just like a thank you for all of the people for just supporting us.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that we are now as voice actors, as a studio, as all these things, able to give back to you. And I'm like, oh, well, we were rushing that. All right. This feels a little bit bad.
Yeah. Neil Newbond. That's what I was referring to. I was blanking on his name.
The voice actor of Astarion.
Yes. And by the way, rightfully deserved that. Like from everything that I've seen. Oh, absolutely.
Fantastic performance. He really did clean up well.
So that was one of my gripes, is that I feel like, hey, let's just make it the full 4 hours and give everybody the time for their thing. Like it's already long as it is. Like, you know, just you don't have the Game Awards don't have a time limit, whereas like the Oscars have a bit of a time limit. The Grammys do, like all these other award shows do. The other thing is they need to get rid of the esports categories. Like esports categories, like there was two gripes I had. Like the best coach, they had somebody who hadn't been coaching for like a good chunk of the year, and then you had two Valorant teams, but not the Overwatch League team that won it all in the Florida Mayhem. But yet you have his coach as best coach. I think that was a bit like it seemed. It seemed like, hey, what are the kids liking? I'm sure that they like this.
I would agree that they need to remove the overall esports part of it, especially because it's the same three games that ultimately pull in right now, right? Like, I didn't even know anything about them, and I'm like, that one's probably gonna win. That one's probably gonna win. The fact that I've heard of that person, that means they're gonna win because I don't know anything about this.
Yeah. The best event, I think, is the dumbest out of all of them, because it's like it's going to be the same 5 every year, so there's nothing's going to change. Like, let's just eliminate that. The best esports player, I feel like with a lot of the categories, I don't know if I can prove it because I can't remember it offhand.
Weird. How
many of them were just the top one? Because I wonder if they just clicked on the top one, like, all right, whatever, this one. Then they just moved on. I think if time is a factor, eliminate that. We already have an esports awards. Let's just let them take care of it.
Yeah.
What else? I think those were my main gripes. Is I think that they eliminated a lot of the acceptance speeches, but yet you have like Anthony Mackie going, shut up. Or you have Simu Liu just talking about how he hurt his Achilles playing basketball.
That's what I'm saying. I felt like the time designations were odd. Like, I can't necessarily articulate one in it, like, existence that I'm like, that was a huge mistake. But, like, it just felt very strange to have, like, monumental moments and awards and acceptance speeches, and then to be like, yeah, but you were on a very tight budget timeline, and you're like, wait a second, why like, why is that a thing?
I think another thing that they can do, because one of the things I think is just like, first off, I want to give credit to Jeff Keighley for one, killing E3, and then two, which I'll talk about that in just a second, killing E3 and also just setting this up and somehow make it more grandiose each year, and he's doing a great job at that. And before, I used to be a staunch, get somebody else to host it, get somebody else to host this, because I think it'll help like flow it and make it a lot better. He's a great job at it, and I'll concede that I was wrong on that. The one thing that I also kind of get a bit annoyed is the like the little sidetrack that he does where it's just like a one shot on him and he just starts going rat-a-tat-tat with some awards. It's like, all right, let's go to our nominees for best mobile game. And they are, and he just like rattles it off. And the winner is Fortnite Mobile. Congratulations. And then just like it goes off on that. And I just feel like what the Oscars do is they'll have like a side luncheon and they'll just kind of do like a brief little like montage, like they'll announce the winners, and they won't even list the nominees. They'll just announce the winners. They'll do like a brief like 5 seconds of like an acceptance speech or them like holding up the award and all that, and then we just move on. Like that whole clip is maybe 2.5 to 3 minutes. We can do without all that, and they can also make more time for future premieres as well as acceptance speeches. Like if time is a factor, we can eliminate a lot of these. I understand we need to praise these games, but at the same time, like we don't need all this. Like this can be condensed into a different feature at a different time. I thought I don't know if it was scripted or not. That pre-show is awkward.
Oh no, it was super painful.
That like I'm unfamiliar with Sydney Goodman. I'm going to bet that she's actually a really good presenter and she knows what she is doing. I also felt like there were a lot of things that were forced, and it was just like, oh, this is the cringe that we need for all gaming related events. Like, hey, we don't get the cringe often anymore. Let's implement this just so we can get our cringe quota.
I actually thought she did a really good job. I think part of it seemed like there was kind of a misnomer about what she was kind of like. It almost felt like she was given something without a lot of background to it, and it was just like, go off. And she's like, I have no idea how to save this. I'm gonna try. And I thought she did a good job with it, but there were definitely moments where it was like the delivery was very much like, I have a general understanding of this concept, and that is not going to be enough to make this segment feel like it's going to be complete. And it is. I am sorry.
And hosting is incredibly difficult. And especially if you are just by yourself, it can feel like you can be quiet for 3 seconds, and that 3 seconds is going to feel like at least 20 minutes. And that's the worst part. And so, given the crap that she was given, she made it work. And I commend her for it.
It's also that whole pre-show, the pre-show topics were just kind of like, I don't know how to build off of them in a way.
Yeah, like, and I feel like also like she could have just been the presenter on like a few of those, again, minor like best mobile game and all that. I feel like there was another controversy there that I just forgot. I know that there was the Dave the Diver controversy. Is it really independent? That one I didn't really care for much. But I was gonna mention E3. The fact that he just essentially killed E3 briefly. I want to talk about this because I think, is there anything else you want to add about Game Awards?
Actually, there's something in relation to E3, but I'm gonna let you go first because it might be the same thing.
Okay, so I don't know if you pay attention to my social media because you haven't been paying attention for a while. The reason I say that is because every time I make a video on Instagram, you always comment with some sarcastic post of just like, oh, wow, I didn't know this. Great post. And it's always something sarcastic. Everybody else thinks it's genuine, but I know, and listeners know, when you're being sarcastic.
Can't prove it. Also, my algorithm's all screwed up.
Yeah, that's also very true. I did a Black Friday special all on video games. And one of the people I talked with was the senior vice president over at ESA who runs E3. And I said, the first thing I asked off air, I said, we're not recording right now. Are we having an E3 this year? And she goes, I can't say anything right now. But she said it in a tone that was like, oh, are we going to get an E3 this year? Only for not even a month later, 3 weeks later, just crushed hopes and dreams for not getting an E3. And I think that sucks. Like, I wish
it does.
I know that Summer Game Fest is good. Game
Fest was enjoyable.
Yeah, Summer Game Fest is good. Summer Game Fest is enjoyable. I know that the Game Awards have turned into Winter Game Fest, especially this year.
It felt like that's what I was gonna say. I felt like it was an attempt to become E3 with added product. Is essentially what we
Mhm.
kind of saw witness to. And hey, maybe not a bad thing, because what are game companies going to do? They can't. They could host their own game like awards. Sure, it feels kind of shallow to be like, you're the best PlayStation
Well,
game.
I think they do
which
with
is all of you.
Dice. I think that's the Dice Awards.
I mean, yes, they have those. And again, it is one of those things where like no company is going to be like, oh my goodness, an award from a actual like studio. Well, we're not going to like accept that. No, they accept it. If
Mhm.
Microsoft came out and had their own little game awards and said, you're the best Microsoft game of the year, and someone was like, well, that's weird, but all right. No company's going to be like, screw you guys. We're not going to that. It's stupid.
Yeah.
No, we're going to put it on our Wikipedia page and we're going to be like, yeah, we were Microsoft's game of the year.
Mhm.
But
oh, absolutely. We would do the same thing too.
oh,
If there
absolutely,
was
best
just
podcast.
like if we were just like best podcast in like District 5 of Florida, we'd be like, yeah, and we would
Yeah.
we'd tout that. I had for one of our accolades was one of the podcasters to watch in 2016. Oh no, it wasn't even 2016. I think it was like 2013. And also another comment was Chase has a nice butt. And so I used that as our promotional material for a little bit.
Yeah.
I do have a nice butt.
We were in Atlanta. We saw him.
Chase Bunker.
Porky Pig, big environmental kind of guy. Loves the kids, but not in a weird way. Just in like a Porky Pig kind of way.
What's the Porky Pig kind of way?
Like in a way that's legal, I think. Kind of like a respectable way. Like kids are good for the planet and for like, keeping humankind not extinct.
Kyle Helmstetter.
Wow. My God.
Sometimes I wonder what it'd be like to do crystal meth.
This is That Game Show.
So Kyle says to me in the break, hey, I've got an announcement, which scares me. What's your announcement?
Pregnant. Not. I said not. First of all, not the announcement. Secondly, announcement. So, starting in the new year, 2024, which will be a year of new beginnings and opportunities and all those happy things, we will be bringing back Underratedly Unheard Of, which is probably unheard of because it was underrated in the first place.
It was.
So, it is making a comeback. If you've never heard of the premise, it is very simple. A few guest hosts will be joining me, and we will be going into the depths of Steam's library for the free and new games. A lot of these will be early access, they're in beta, all these kind of things. But we will be giving them a nice little playthrough. We're debating whether or not we're going to do a stream of this versus we're just going to go ahead and record and upload to YouTube. But either way, it will end up on YouTube at some point. And pretty much it's just going to be, honoring and recognizing those small-time, producers of games, and giving their game a nice solid hour playthrough. And then we're gonna have some fun with it. Probably make a lot of jokes.
Mm-hmm.
That one will probably have some swearing in it because there's no way I'm gonna be able to go back and edit all of that.
Yep.
But yeah, that'll be coming up. We'll probably be doing it every Friday, so expect a stream of that if that is truly the plan.
Okay.
And we'll see how it goes. At the very worst, it's terrible. At the very best, it's
Not as terrible.
suddenly we end up in the Game Awards.
Yes. Maybe we win the Content Creator Award. We don't lose. We beat out the VTubers and we just do our own.
Do it. Dude, I could VTube it. That's a consideration.
Oh gosh. I'm.
I'm
That
gonna
is
pay
a
for that little.
whole.
I'm
That's
gonna pay
a
for that
whole
little
realm.
me. I'm gonna pay for that little me who's gonna be like doing a bunch of stuff.
All right. Excellent. Very
Yep.
good. All right. So Underratedly Unheard Of coming back next year. If you are unfamiliar with Underratedly Unheard Of, we have a whole bunch of videos. Just keep scrolling. You'll find it.
It's got its own playlist. It has its own playlist.
It has
easy
its own
access.
playlist. I just remember, what was it Damasaur?
We had Damasaur. We had Zelda Singularity. There was.
Well, no, Damasaur was like the random game that turned into like a motivational speaking event.
Oh yeah.
That also like the creators like promoted as well.
That helped a lot.
Yes, which I still can't believe that was a thing. But
that's the point. It's to give back the little guy. We are also the little guy,
Yes.
whether you want to accept that or not.
Mm-hmm. And on my end, we're gonna try to get more guests onto the show. I have a few people in mind. First off, if you haven't checked out, go check out my recent interview with Jacob Wolf, the CEO of Overcome. Editing it was a joy because there's a lot of great stuff in there, especially how just the imposter syndrome and like the mental fortitude it takes to start your own company and also create your own stuff. I think that was absolutely fantastic. So it's a bit of a change of pace of what we normally do. Yeah, I'm going to try to get more guests on at some point. We've talked about it before. I still have the list of people who I want to have on. I've also luckily been able, because of my job, interview other people, but I can't necessarily put them on this show.
Yeah, it's a little illegal, I think.
Yeah, it's a little bit. I don't think I can snag Lewis Black or William Shatner again. Did I tell you about that?
You did.
Okay. Does the show know about that?
Yeah.
I don't think the show knows about that. I'm not sure. Work set me up with an interview. It was a 10-minute interview with William Shatner, and it was great. And then I got an email the day of the interview that just said, there's a lot of things that he can't answer because of the strike. And so it would just be like, well, I'm coming to your town on November 12th at the Florida Theater for William Shatner Live. And he just like, it was this weird, like, he can't say it, but I can say it. And so it was just like this weird, like, promotional Mad Libs thing. It was fun, but it was like, because holy crap, I interviewed Kirk. And also we kind of unveiled that he wasn't approached to do any spinoff, unlike Picard. But like, it was just kind of we're dancing around a lot because he doesn't want to break protocol.
Gotta be hard to be in the big worlds.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, again, check out Underratedly Unheard Of. That series is gonna be coming out. Kyle does a lot of great stuff with that. Check out more episodes of that game show and maybe some future guests along the way. That's going to do it for our show. Thank you very much for listening. All the music you heard today was courtesy of the band Power Glove. For music, tour dates, and merch, check out powergloveband.com. You can follow me on Twitter. I ain't changing the name. You can follow me on Twitter at Chase Bunker. You can follow Kyle on Instagram at Scandinavian_sensations. If you're watching this on YouTube, please feel free to leave a like and just type in random letters as comments just to beat the YouTube algorithm. And feel free to subscribe as well. You don't have to ring the bell. That's just too much. That's just too much for you. Just do the bare minimum.
Ring the bell.
You don't have to. You don't
ring
have to.
the bell.
This is like good tuber, bad tuber. If you are in Orlando, come check us out at Holiday Matsuri. Other than that, for Kyle Helmstetter, I'm Chase Bunker. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you all in the next episode.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you check out more episodes on iTunes and on our YouTube page, youtube.com/thatgameshow. And follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/thatgameshow.